So welcome to RMS Medical Products. My name is Don Pettigrew. I'm the president and CEO. We are an infusion company currently listed on the OTCQX. I'd like to welcome you to Chester, New York, our corporate headquarters and manufacturing facility. I'd like to thank you in advance for your attention and interest in our exciting story. So let me start with who we are and what we do. First of all, RMS is a specialty infusion pump company with a huge opportunity to become a proprietary drug or fluid delivery system for the home or alternate site setting, where performance, reliability, and ease of use are the driving influencers. Our vision is simply to be the preferred drug delivery partner for specific infusion therapies in select markets. With that said, let me bring your attention to our safe harbor provisions and walk you through our story. Thanks again for your attention. So let me begin with the company overview, in particular our mission statement, which is to improve the quality of life of patients around the world through the development and delivery of high-quality, innovative, and easy-to-use infusion products. We are currently headquartered in Chester, New York. Our trailing 12-month revenues are approximately $18.3 million. Our trailing 12-month gross margin is 62.3%. Total cash is $4.1 million. We have zero debt. Shareholders' equity is $9.2 million. Insider ownership, approximately 45%. And as of end of March 2019, we have 75 employees. So RMS Medical's fully integrated Freedom Infusion System is primarily used for subcutaneous and IVIg. IG stands for Immunoglobulin. We are capitalizing on the ongoing shift from institutional or hospital care to lower cost home and alternate site settings. We currently serve specialty pharmacies, also known as home infusion providers, and collaborate with pharmaceutical companies to promote IG therapy. We have a refreshed management team and board that's driving growth through market development and product innovation initiatives. So let me get into the investment highlights on slide 4. We're currently operating in two of the largest segments approved for the growing global immunoglobulin therapy market. We have increased net sales and gross margins, and we have a recurring revenue via razor blade model. We have multiple growth drivers. We're increasing physician awareness and patient conversion to RMS Medical infusion products and expanding pharma indications. We launched a strategic plan in February 2019 to become the preferred drug delivery partner for specific infusion therapies in select markets. We have a very strong balance sheet with no debt and a simple capital structure. As you can see from the graphic, we have a 22% net sales CAGR from 2008 to 2019. If you go to slide 5 and compare 2018 versus 2017, you'll see an increase in net sales of 12.4%. You'll see a gross margin expanding by 230 basis points and an adjusted EBITDA increase of 74%. If you look at Q1 2019, we had a really exciting first quarter where we achieved the first ever $5 million net sales quarter. You'll see gross margin improving as well as adjusted EBITDA as well. We have a simple cap structure with 42.7 million fully diluted shares. Of those, 38.2 million basic shares are outstanding, 3.5 million options are outstanding, and there's approximately 1 million warrants included in there. The next slide is talking about the strengthened and seasoned leadership team that's really driving growth. You'll see on the slide a lot of years of experience with reputable companies, and most of them in the medical space. I'd like to highlight two folks on the slide. Number one is Brian Schiller, who was hired back in February as our Vice President of Medical Affairs. He comes to us from the big pharma industry, most recently with Sanofi, previously Genzyme, and he's a key part of our strategic planning and our pharma initiative. I recently hired here in June, John Toomey as our Vice President of Growth and Innovation. He's an example of our commitment to being innovators of this industry and our aggressive growth strategies. Both these guys know the market, they know the business, And if you look at John's background, he's got some experience right in our sweet spot of home infusion and has worked for some of other large medical companies. And then I want to mention Dan Goldberg, our executive chairman, who is a seasoned industry veteran. He's been CEO of many different medical companies, and he currently serves as our executive chairman. If you go to our board of directors, I'll bring your attention to some recent changes. In particular, back in December of 2018, we brought on two key additions to the board. Number one is Rob Allen. Rob was the president of Quorum, now known as CVS Quorum, which happens to be our largest customer. And then also Jim Beck, who was the chairman of the board and CEO for Medical Specialties Distributors, now owned by McKesson. Jim was at the helm of our largest distributor. Also, I want to bring attention to Kathy Frommer. Kathy was a very successful CEO at CRS Retail Systems, is a long-term supporter and shareholder of RMS as well. And then most recently, we announced the addition of John Fletcher to the board. I couldn't be more excited to add John as well as all these other additions. But John comes to us from most recently as the chairman of the board for Spectranetics. The Spectranetics story is quite fascinating in that he was at the helm when that business had similar revenues to what RMS is currently experiencing. He led an aggressive growth strategy that led to the ultimate sale to Royal Philips of $2.2 billion. So he's a very experienced addition to the board and rounds out what I consider to be a very complementary board of directors. So let me jump into the immunoglobulin or IG therapy on slide 9. So currently immunoglobulin therapy is used in the treatment of over 350 diseases and conditions. It's generally administered either intravenously, which is known as IVIg, or subcutaneously, which is known as SCIg. The difference is IVIg infusions are typically given every 3 weeks or once a month, generally done at a hospital or an infusion center, whereas SubQIg infusions are typically given daily or weekly, which allow patients to infuse at home on their own schedule. There's a rising incidence of autoimmune, neurological, and hematological disorders. And right now, demand is significantly outpacing supply. So in response, pharma companies are investing in plasma collection networks. And on the right side of the slide, you'll see the 6 major players in the IG space, and all of those are invested heavily in these pharma collection networks. So let me get into the addressable market on slide 10. The total available market, we look at the global home infusion therapy market, estimated to be $38.7 billion by 2026, with a CAGR of 7%. The serviceable available market is a $7 billion US home infusion market, growing at double digits with a 10% CAGR, and a $1.1 billion North American market for subcutaneous IG that is also growing at double digits at 12%. The OUS market is estimated to be roughly 2x that of North America. If you look more closely at our target market for RMS, we're honed in heavily on the $500 million US home infusion equipment market. And if you look at our net sales for 2018, we are $17.4 million, growing at just north of 12%. And if you look at Q1 2019, as I mentioned earlier, we had a record of $5 million in net sales, growing at 23.3% year over year. So let me get into our sweet spot, and that is the primary immunodeficiency market and the chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy market. These are 2 of the largest market segments approved for IG therapy. I'll bring your attention to the large graphic on the left that highlights $185 to $260 million US addressable PIDD market. And if you go to the upper right-hand corner, you'll see that this market represents roughly 350 plus chronic disorders. with an estimated patient population of over 270,000 patients. Of those 270,000 patients, less than 26% of those are receiving IG therapy today, which is the equivalent of about 70,000 patients. And of those 70,000 patients, approximately 20,000 are receiving SubQ IG with our RMS Freedom system, meaning that there's 50,000 patients that could potentially convert to RMS infusion products. So you see several areas of growth opportunity here. One, more patients being diagnosed with PIDD, and also more patients that are diagnosed receiving IG therapy using RMS Medical products at home subcutaneously. More recently, there was some exciting news of the expanded indication of an IG that we currently support and deliver in the CIDP market, which is a neurological disorder with roughly 25,000 patients. CSL Behring launched the FDA clearance of Hizentra and became the first and only SubQ IG treatment for CIDP. We estimate this market to be between 25 and 36 million. On slide 12 is the SubQ IG background benefits. The key point is that it allows patients to self-administer therapy. This is one of the big challenges in healthcare right now, that there is a large labor component to treat these patients. Our system and SubQ IG allows the patients to do it themselves, which we think solves the big problem. How it works is it allows for a slow release of immunoglobulin into the body's circulation, and it avoids serum peaks and troughs. So you have a consistent quality of life and consistent blood serum level. It's deemed as more attractive to patients with poor venous access. It requires less nursing time and fewer systematic adverse events. It also allows patients flexibility and autonomy to administer their therapy when convenient for them. Patients on SubQ therapy miss significantly fewer days of work or school and spend significantly less time in the hospital. And there's an established reimbursement profile as well. If you look at the graphic on the right side of the slide, you'll see a serum level comparison of SubQ versus IVIg. And you'll see the SubQ IG maintains that constant level of IG, which enhances the patient's consistent quality of life. Moving to slide 13, I'd like to talk about our integrated infusion system. We are a fully integrated mechanical system cleared by the FDA as of August 2017. We have 16 patents and patents pending, a proven history and safety profile, and we're broadly indicated as an infusion system, specifically indicated for SubQ IG and IVIg infusions, and certain antibiotics as well. We're also well positioned for the accelerating adoption of SubQ IG, including Hizentra and Cubitril. We are in clinical trials for other indications and therapies as well. So let me bring you to slide 14, which highlights the Freedom System's mechanical syringe drivers. You'll see the Freedom 60, which is a 60 cc syringe device, and the Freedom Edge, which is a 20 and 30 cc syringe device. Mechanical syringe pumps are widely adopted and the preferred SubQ IG delivery system. We're really excited about this mechanical system because it offers dynamic equilibrium, which maintains a very safe pressure at lower PSI, around 13.5, throughout the infusion. These products are maintenance-free. There's no batteries or electricity required. They're very accurate at any fill volume. There's low residual volume, which equals minimal drug waste. And very importantly, it's exceptionally easy to use and easy to train. The next slide, titled Hizentra, is an ad pulled from www.hizentra.com. This is the market leader in the US for subcutaneous immunoglobulin. You'll see featured in this is the Freedom 60 pump. You'll also see this in national periodicals and advertisements from CSL Behring as the delivery system for Hizentra. So on slide 16 is our proprietary tubing and NeedleSense. First is our precision flow rate tubing, which essentially regulates the flow rate of any IG, medication, or fluid. We offer many of the different flow rates, and we have a uniform flow profile with no free flow, bolus, or overdose. We have low residual volumes as compared to competing products, which minimizes drug waste. If you look at the high flow subcutaneous safety needle sets, they come in 2 different sizes, 24 and 26 gauge, and 5 different needle length options from 4 to 14 millimeters in length. They're designed specifically for the Freedom syringe driver and has a proprietary needle design which minimizes tissue damage, scarring, and local site reactions, which essentially promote faster healing. It also reduces tissue saturation at the site. On slide 17, you'll see RMS's primary growth drivers. Each new patient to RMS generates approximately $750 per year in recurring revenue. Newly diagnosed PIDD patients are expected to be prescribed SubQIg therapy, and right now the patient population is estimated at 270,000 patients. The other thing we see is PIDD transitioning from IV therapy to SubQ IG therapy, which is being preferred, and the larger prescribed therapy from the physician base. Right now, it's estimated to be at 70,000 patients. You're also seeing expanded indications for immunoglobulins delivered with the Freedom System. I mentioned earlier, CIDP represents roughly 25,000 patients in the U.S., and it's another growth opportunity for us. On top of that, pharmaceutical companies are developing SubQ administration indications for large molecules and biosimilars using the Freedom system. And if you look at opportunities in some of these other disease states, the patient population quickly grows to north of 1 million patients. So on slide 18 highlights our strategic plan. You'll see 3 key financial goals in it. Number 1 is to have net revenues running at $50 million by the end of 2022. The second is to increase our gross margin position to 70% plus. And the third is 20% plus annual organic revenue growth for each year. There's 3 key phases. Right now we're in phase 1, which I call grow and harvest. We're trying to maintain the baseline business and focus on where we can win. But we're also trying to further penetrate the PIDD and CIDP markets with a focus on calling on pharma reps, working with home infusion sales reps or specialty pharmacy sales reps, as well as using our distributors for lead generators. You'll also see a lot of new product development and launch plans. You'll see new indications, and you'll see us expanding into other facets and other markets within the current space. We're also looking to develop business outside the U.S., enhance and focus our efforts on pharma collaboration, and build a funnel of clinical trials, and then also continue to improve margins. When we get to phase 2, I call it expand and innovate, where this is where it gets really exciting with new products and expanded indications, and we get into other post-acute care markets, but we also grow into the European space. And phase 3 is the accelerated growth phase, which is the continued execution of phase 1 and phase 2, but now we enter into new drugs that will be delivered with the Freedom 60 or new products that we developed and indications. Post-acute care growth, you'll see global expansion and market share gains. So in conclusion, RMS has a well-respected family of products. We're in addressable markets that are experiencing double-digit growth. There's significant market share with multiple expansion catalysts. We have a clean balance sheet, liquidity, and simple cap structure. We're refreshed and focused with our management and leadership team, and we have a razor blade model that drives recurring revenue. With that said, I appreciate your attention, and I'd like to get into the Q&A. So the first question is, can you provide some commentary on your sales strategy? Let me answer it this way. Our sales strategy is really trying to change our focus from a support and maintenance organization to an organization that is aimed at market share growth and looking to solve bigger problems. We are evolving into an organization that focuses on customer needs and acts as business consultants, but also are industry experts versus perceived salespeople. The other key piece is, as you just saw in the strategic planning slide, is our focus is going to turn to influencing influencers in this business. And by that, I mean the focus will be on supporting and calling on pharmaceutical reps who have exceptionally large selling organizations that extend our reach into the physician and patient population. You'll see us, as I mentioned earlier, focusing on distributor reps for lead generation and also working with our specialty pharmacy or home infusion reps that are all promoting IG therapy. You'll also see us focusing on a growing number of patient advocates that have a large influence on products that patients use. So let me go to the second question. How are you working with pharma companies to encourage the use of RMS products during clinical trials? Simply put, clinical trials are a huge part of our strategic plan. If we look at what has us successful right now, it's early adoption and a drug and drug companies that are encouraging and promoting the use of our delivery system. But I'll bring your attention to the Vice President of Medical Affairs I just hired, who's going to lead this initiative. Right now, we're actively leveraging current relationships, and we're also building new ones. We're focused heavily on the current space of growing the PIDD and CIDP market, but we're also focusing our clinical trials on expanding indications for current drugs. And we're also very close and in many discussions and involved in trials with new drugs in some cases, different disease states. So the next question is, how many IG drugs are currently approved in the US, and how many of these drugs are approved for SubQ infusion? Right now, there's approximately 10 immunoglobulins that are approved for IV therapy, and there's 4 that are approved for SubQIg, with more on the horizon. The next question is, outside of IG drugs, what other therapies could RMS products potentially be used for, and do you plan to expand into those markets? Well, let me say, that's a great question. There's enormous potential here. Currently, we're focused on the SubQIg, the IVIg, and in some cases, the antibiotic market. But we're also actively engaged in exploring other opportunities, which are very large. A lot of times clinical trials are very confidential, and I like to respect that confidentiality, but know that we have a delivery platform that could really deliver any medication or drug, and we are on top of working with those folks that are developing new drugs for new disease states. The next question is, can you comment on the changes with the management team and the board of directors at RMS? Let me just say that the changes are really aimed at accelerating growth and realizing the full potential of RMS. I couldn't be more excited to have a group of very experienced and seasoned executives, but I'm even more excited to have the experience that's relative to the industry we're in, and in particular, we have a lot of experience in the infusion space right now. The next question is, who are your primary competitors and how will you outcompete them? So let me provide a little clarity here. In infusion, there's a lot of different types of drug delivery platforms. We are in the mechanical pump space, which has been deemed ideal for the SubQ space, mostly because of what I mentioned earlier of ease of use, easy to train, accurate, reliable, safe. And at the end of the day, we're trying to get patients to feel comfortable administering their own therapy. So ease of use is key. But also I'll bring your attention to there's other types of pumps out there you'll hear about, such as elastomeric pumps, which are simple balloon type pumps that you usually see in the pain and antibiotic space. And then you also see electronic pumps, which we don't deem as competition, but there's a lot of pumps in the home infusion market
that are more jack-of-all-trade pumps that can deliver a lot of other therapy options outside of SubQ. But in the mechanical space, there's really a couple players. We have the dominant share, and then there's another competitor by the name of eMed. We will outcompete them by out-innovating and by providing better products, better people, and better support, and focusing on patient and customer needs. And that's essentially what we have been doing, and we are committed to doing going forward. The other thing is our plans are to out-innovate all our competition, and we're actively involved there as well. So the next question, given that new products and innovation are key components of your strategic plan, can you provide your views on what the future may hold? So I guess I addressed a little bit of that in the last question I answered, but let me give you a little more detail. I'm a firm believer in owning a sales channel, that if we have the right relationships with the right people that are decision makers that can influence business, that we can add products into our bag that are complementary. And that's where we're really focused. We can leverage that by adding products that are related to the space that we're currently in, and that we can use the same relationships and same sales channel to get those products to market. So right now, we're looking at a lot of things with new products. We're actively in the process of developing some. You recently saw that we got FDA clearance for one new product, and we're looking to add more to that product pipeline. I will also mention that I recently hired John Toomey as Vice President of Growth and Innovation to show our commitment to being innovators in the market. So I'll be excited to provide more updates and give some clarity as to the types of products and the innovation that we're coming to market with. The next question is, do you plan to expand internationally? The answer is yes. Right now we have a solid footprint in the EU, and we have plans to expand within that space. I will say you don't need to look further than look where our pharmaceutical partners, where they're expanding, and we look to replicate what's been successful for us in the European markets. And we're currently building a strong footprint and have some good traction out there. And then after that, we look to expand more globally. But my view is that we want to be very selective on the markets we go into, where we really have a good understanding of the number of patients, the supply, we have good distribution partnerships, and we have a high probability of success. The next question is, do you plan to uplist to a national exchange? So the answer here is absolutely. It's not a matter of if, but when. Just simply a matter of timing. There'll be more to follow on that, but the answer is absolutely. Next question is, has the company encountered any challenges throughout the leadership transition that has taken place over the last few years in regards to maintaining relationships and legacy customers? This is a good question because it was a concern I had when I joined the organization. And I'm happy to report that there are no issues or challenges in regards to customer relationships. Matter of fact, we not only maintain healthy relationships, but I firmly believe they're stronger than ever. And I attribute a lot of that to we have people from this infusion space. I'm from this infusion space, and it's a small world in home infusion, and having the relationships at the right level, it's nice when you have a history and have people that already have those connections, and we're in that position. The next question is, what are your near-term and long-term risks that you think about that could challenge your growth initiatives? So there's a handful of things here, and I guess let me bring attention to a few. One is, we have a limited product portfolio. We have an outstanding drug delivery system, but I would sure like to fill out that bag with other products. And that's a risk that we are a one-trick pony, if you will, But we're a one-trick pony with a long established history and strong market share position that I think is creating a really strong platform to build from. The other one that I think about is there any disruptive technology on the horizon that could kind of change the way drugs are delivered that might cut into our space? And if you look at the home infusion business, you'll realize that it's a very sticky business. And the definition of sticky to me is that once patients are on a therapy and the outcomes are good, the compliance is good, and the overall experience is good, there's no need to change. And regardless of a new technology or a new way to deliver, if it's working, people aren't looking to try and fix those things. With that said, we intend to be the disruptors. So we are committed to focusing on innovation. And I mentioned a new vice president of growth and innovation as an example of that. And we expect to be first to market by leveraging the relationships that we have and the current platform we have in the market. And probably the biggest risk that I see is simply, and I alluded to this earlier in the presentation, is supply challenges of IG supply. Right now, the demand is significantly outpacing the supply. And you'll see a large commitment from our pharmaceutical manufacturing partners to increase awareness and try to get more donations of blood plasma and invest in blood collection centers. And you'll see new drugs get indicated, new IG drugs get indicated, which I think is very good for us. And that I like to say that as the tide rises, all boats rise with it. And knowing that we're trying to see more patients get diagnosed and be prescribed this therapy, which is a life changer for them, more supply, in my opinion, only leads to an increased awareness and diagnosis and IG therapy for these patients. So that kind of summarizes what I think are the short and long-term risks. So that concludes our Q&A session. I'd like to sincerely thank everybody for your interest and attention. I hope you enjoy hearing this exciting story, and I hope you follow and support what we have going forward.